buckle up, folks, because today we are taking a deep dive into the filmography of
The Three Stooges.
the Three Stooges. We've got
It's going to be fun.
excerpts from their Wikipedia filmography, which,
Yes.
trust me, it's way more exciting than it sounds.
Oh, absolutely.
We're talking over 200 films.
I know. It's crazy.
Shorts, features, even TV appearances.
Ah,
These guys were comedy giants for decades, and their careers are packed with surprises
so many.
you might not expect.
Yeah, you might think you know the Stooges, you know,
Right.
the slapstick, the eye pokes, but their story goes way deeper.
Well.
We're going to trace the evolution of this iconic trio.
Yeah.
Or should I say trios?
Oh, okay.
Because the lineup wasn't always Moe, Larry, and Curly.
Right.
And even that famous combination had its own twists and turns.
Okay, let's unpack this comedic time capsule, starting with shocker number 1.
Okay.
The Three Stooges weren't always a trio.
What?
Or even called the Three Stooges.
No.
They started with Ted Healy.
Yeah, Ted Healy and his Stooges.
Wow.
Their first film appearance was in 1930,
Okay.
a feature called Soup to Nuts.
Soup to Nuts. Gotta love those old school titles.
It's a classic.
So when does Larry join the party, and how does Curly fit into all of this?
Well, Larry came on board a bit later, but the real turning point was when Curly replaced Shemp in 32.
Okay.
That's when the iconic trio, the one we picture with those signature bowl cuts and goofy grins, really took shape.
Moe, Larry, and Curly. It's
Yes.
a slapstick trifecta.
The dream team.
So they do a bunch of stuff with Ted Healy before branching out on their own?
Exactly. They made shorts, features, even popped up in other MGM films,
Really?
like Meet the Baron and Dancing Lady.
I've heard of Dancing Lady.
Yeah, they were like the go-to comedic relief for a while there.
You know, it's interesting to think about the Stooges working within these bigger productions.
Yeah,
Did that influence their style at all, or were they always their own chaotic force?
that's a great point. Working within the studio system definitely gave them experience and exposure.
Uh-huh.
It let them hone their timing, their physicality, their ability to deliver those quick-fire gags.
Makes sense.
But you could already see their unique brand of humor shining through, even in those early supporting roles.
So when did they finally break free from Ted Healy and become the Three Stooges?
Right.
Was it a sudden split or more of a gradual evolution?
The big break came in 1934 when they jumped ship from MGM to Columbia Pictures.
Interesting.
That's when the magic really started to happen.
Okay.
They kicked things off with Woman Haters.
Woman Haters.
Then came classics like Punch Drunks and even the Academy Award-nominated Men in Black.
Hold up.
Yeah.
An Oscar nomination for the Three Stooges
It's true.
for Men in Black?
Uh-huh.
I had no idea.
It just goes to show that their comedy wasn't just about silly slapstick.
Yeah.
There was a real art to their physical comedy.
Right.
Their timing, their ability to create these visually driven gags that resonated with audiences worldwide.
This is blowing my mind.
Right.
I'm seeing the Stooges in a whole new light.
That's what we're here for.
Okay, so they're at Columbia Pictures, cranking out hits, raking in award nominations.
Mm-hmm.
What comes next in this wild ride?
Their Columbia contract was basically a yearly renewal.
Okay.
Year after year, they just kept making these shorts,
Oh.
all the way up to 1957.
Wow.
That's an incredible run.
That's a long time.
And they didn't just stick to one formula.
Right.
They experimented with different themes and settings.
So it wasn't just the same eye pokes and falls over and over again?
Oh, they definitely had their signature moves.
Yeah.
But they weren't afraid to mix things up.
Okay.
They tackled spies in You Nasty Spy.
Oh.
They went west in Rockin' Through the Rockies, even traveled to Samoa and Samora, Samoa.
See, this is why I love these deep dives.
I know, right?
It's like peeling back the layers of history and discovering these hidden gems.
Exactly.
But wait, wasn't there some trouble in paradise during this era?
Oh.
Something about Curly's health, right?
Yes.
I vaguely remember that.
Sadly, in 1946, Curly suffered a stroke.
Oh, man.
It was a major turning point for the group.
I bet.
They had to adapt,
Yeah.
find a new dynamic.
So what happened?
Yeah,
Did the act just end there?
not at all.
Okay.
Shemp, who had actually been a stooge before Curly, stepped back in to fill the void.
What?
They kept making films as Moe, Larry, and Shemp, proving that even with lineup changes,
Wow.
the Stooges' spirit could endure.
Wait, so Shemp was a stooge twice?
He was.
That's wild.
I know.
How did audiences react to this new lineup?
Right.
Did it measure up to the iconic Moe, Larry, and Curly dynamic?
It was definitely a different vibe.
Yeah.
Shemp had his own brand of humor.
Right.
He was a bit more understated, a bit more the slow burn comedian.
Interesting.
But the chemistry between the three of them was undeniable.
Okay.
They kept cranking out hits, showing that the Stooges had this incredible ability to adapt and evolve.
It seems like that was a theme for them.
Yeah, for sure. So they kept going with this lineup for a while.
Nearly a decade. All the way until tragedy struck again in 1955.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
What happened?
Shemp passed away unexpectedly.
Oh, wow.
It was a huge loss for the group and for the fans who loved his unique style.
I bet.
But even faced with this setback, Moe and Larry were determined to keep the Stooges spirit alive.
So they brought in someone new, right?
Yes.
I vaguely remember something about another.
Joe.
That's right?
Okay. They brought in comedian Joe Besser.
Okay.
Now, Joe was a bit different,
Yeah.
a bit more refined, you could say.
Refined and the Three Stooges?
Yeah,
Those two things don't usually go together.
I know.
So how long did this lineup last?
It was a shift from their usual chaotic energy,
Yeah.
but he held his own.
Okay.
He was a talented comedian, and they still had that classic Stooges charm.
So they made films together?
They did from 56 to 59,
56 to 59.
but their time was cut short when Columbia Pictures decided to stop making short films altogether.
Whoa. They just stopped making shorts.
Yeah.
What happened?
The world was changing.
Right.
Television was on the rise,
Uh-huh.
and the demand for short films was dwindling.
I see.
It was the end of an era, not just for the Stooges, but for short films in general.
Yeah.
But Moe, Larry, and Curly Joe weren't going down without a fight.
I love it.
They had one more trick up their sleeves.
Okay, here's where it gets really interesting.
Indeed, they found comedian Joe DeRita, who took on the persona of Curly Joe.
Okay.
And that, my friend, is how the final iteration of the Three Stooges was born.
Moe, Larry, and Curly Joe.
Yeah.
That's the lineup I remember from those classic TV reruns.
Right.
So what did this final chapter look like?
Yeah.
Did they manage to navigate this changing world of entertainment?
They embraced it.
Okay.
They did feature films, made TV appearances, even had their own animated series.
Wow.
They went from vaudeville stages to the big screen to the small screen.
It's incredible.
The Three Stooges, in all their various forms, were true pioneers of comedy.
This is incredible.
I know, right?
We've gone from soup to nuts to Oscar nominations to TV cartoons.
It's amazing.
It's clear these guys weren't just funny men.
Nope.
They were survivors, adapters,
Yeah.
and masters of their craft.
For sure.
But their story doesn't end there, right?
No, not at all.
We haven't even touched on their individual journeys outside of the Stooges.
That's right. Stay tuned, because in the next part of our deep dive,
Yes.
we'll explore the fascinating solo careers of Moe, Larry, Shemp, and Curly.
Okay.
You might be surprised by what you discover about these comedic legends.
Can't wait.
It's going to be good.
All right, we'll be back.
See you then. All right. Before we jump into their solo careers,
Okay.
let's rewind a bit and explore the Stooges' adventures.
Uh-huh.
Beyond those iconic short films,
Right.
we're talking feature-length films, folks.
Yes. I have to admit,
Yeah.
my knowledge of their feature films is pretty limited.
Right.
I mostly associate them with Snow White and the Three Stooges.
Sure.
But I know there's a whole lot more to discover.
Oh, yeah. Snow White and the Three Stooges is a classic.
Mhm.
But it actually came much later in their careers,
Oh.
during the Moe, Larry, and Curly Joe era.
Okay.
Their first foray into feature films was way back in 1930
Oh, wow.
with Soup to Nuts.
Right.
Remember, this was during their Ted Healy and his Stooges days.
Right. With Moe, Larry, and Shemp.
Yeah.
It's fascinating to think about their early days before they became the Three Stooges.
I know.
What was it like seeing them in a full-length film?
Well, Soup to Nuts was more of a showcase for Ted Healy,
Oh.
with the Stooges playing supporting roles.
Right.
It gave them a chance to experiment with longer comedic bits,
Yeah.
develop their characters, and really show off their physical comedy skills.
So even in those early days,
Yeah.
their unique brand of slapstick was shining through.
Absolutely. Their energy was contagious,
Uh-huh.
and their timing was impeccable.
Okay.
You could tell they were destined for bigger things.
I like.
And speaking of bigger things,
Yes.
their first true starring role in a feature film
Hmm.
came in 1941
All right.
with Time Out for Rhythm.
Time Out for Rhythm.
Yeah.
I've never even heard of that one.
Have you not?
No.
It was a musical comedy, believe it or not.
A musical comedy.
The Stooges played janitors at a theatrical boarding house.
Janitors.
Yeah.
Of course they were janitors.
You can imagine the chaos that ensued.
I bet.
Yeah.
Wait a minute. Did they actually sing and dance in this musical?
Well,
I mean, I know they're talented, but...
there was some singing and dancing, but mostly from the other performers.
Right.
The Stooges were there to provide the laughs.
Okay.
And they did that in spades.
Uh-huh.
They disrupted rehearsals, caused backstage mayhem,
Of course.
and basically turned the whole production upside down.
So they brought their signature slapstick to the world of musicals.
They did.
Did they do any other feature films during their Curly era?
They did.
Okay.
In 1945, they starred in Rockin' in the Rockies, another musical comedy.
Another one?
And in 1946, they appeared in Swing Parade of 1946.
Okay.
These films gave them a chance to showcase their versatility, proving that their comedy could work in different genres and settings.
It's amazing how they managed to adapt their style to these different formats.
Right.
It wasn't just mindless slapstick.
Right.
There was a real intelligence behind their humor.
Absolutely.
What about after Curly's stroke?
Yeah?
Did the Stooges continue making feature films with Shemp?
They actually only made one feature film during the Moe, Larry, and Shemp era.
Oh, really?
Gold Raiders, released in 1951.
Just one?
Yeah.
That's surprising. What was so special about Gold Raiders?
It was a Western comedy,
Interesting.
which was a bit of a departure for them.
Yeah.
They played bumbling prospectors searching for gold.
I bet.
And you can imagine the hilarious mishaps that ensued.
Oh, yeah.
It was a chance for them to poke fun at the Western genre
Right.
while still delivering their signature slapstick.
I bet there were plenty of pie fights and accidental explosions.
Oh, absolutely.
So what about Joe Besser?
Right.
Did he ever get to star in a feature film with the Stooges?
Interestingly enough, no.
Really?
Joe Besser's time with the Stooges was primarily focused on short films.
Okay.
By the time they started making more feature films, it was the Moe, Larry, and Curly Joe era.
Right.
And that brings us back to Snow White and the Three Stooges.
Right. I have to admit, I haven't seen that one in ages.
Okay.
What do you remember about it?
It's a classic fairy tale.
Right.
With a Stooges twist, of course.
Right.
They play bumbling, well-meaning dwarfs
Yeah.
who try to help Snow White escape the evil queen.
I love it.
It's full of slapstick, mistaken identities, and those classic Stooges routines.
I can only imagine the chaos they brought to that fairy tale world.
Oh, yeah.
So Snow White was just the beginning for Moe, Larry, and Curly Joe, right?
Yeah.
They did more feature films together.
They sure did. Okay. They had a whole second wind of success with feature films.
Right.
In 1962, they starred in The Three Stooges Meet Hercules.
Oh,
A
yeah.
hilarious take on Greek mythology.
I remember that one. It was so cheesy.
It was.
But in a good way, they had this knack for making even the most outlandish scenarios hilarious.
Exactly.
Yeah, they really did.
They embraced the silliness
Uh-huh.
and never took themselves too seriously.
Right.
That was part of their charm.
What other cinematic masterpieces did Moe, Larry, and Curly Joe bless us with?
Well, there was The Three Stooges in Orbit, also in 1962,
Okay.
a wacky sci-fi adventure.
Oh, wow.
Then, in 1963, they starred in The Three Stooges Go Around the World in a Daze,
Okay.
a globe-trotting comedy that took them from the Eiffel Tower to the Great Wall of China.
Wow.
They even had a cameo in the classic ensemble comedy. It's a mad, 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 mad world.
The Stooges sharing the screen with all those comedic legends?
I know.
That's incredible. Okay, so they were conquering the world of feature films.
Uh-huh.
What's next in their epic journey?
Remember how we talked about television changing the entertainment landscape?
Yeah,
The Stooges weren't just going to sit back and watch it happen.
right.
They decided to dive headfirst into the world of television.
From vaudeville to movies to TV?
I know.
These guys were unstoppable. When did they first grace the small screen?
Their first TV appearance was way back in 1948
Wow.
on the Texaco Star Theater, hosted by Milton Berle.
Wow, so they were on TV even before their big feature film push.
Yep, they were early adopters, you could say.
Interesting.
They did guest spots on variety shows,
Okay.
appeared in comedy skits, even hosted their own shows.
So what kind of shows did they host?
Yeah.
Did they try to recreate their slapstick routines for television?
Yeah.
Or did they explore different comedic styles?
Well, in the early days, it was mostly guest appearances on popular variety shows,
Right.
like The Ed Wynn Show, The Kate Smith Hour, and even The Frank Sinatra Show.
Hold on, they were on Frank Sinatra's show?
Well,
I can't even picture those two worlds colliding.
I know.
Did their slapstick humor translate well to that kind of sophisticated setting?
Surprisingly, yes.
Wow.
The Stooges had a broad appeal,
Okay.
crossing over into different genres and demographics.
Right.
They could make audiences of all ages and backgrounds laugh.
I believe it.
Their humor was timeless and universal.
It's fascinating how they managed to stay relevant through all these different eras of entertainment.
I know, it's pretty incredible.
So when did they finally get their own dedicated TV show?
Well, in 1959, they had a short-lived show called The Three Stooges Scrapbook,
Okay.
which featured a mix of old footage and new material.
Right.
But their biggest TV success came in 1965
Okay.
with The New Three Stooges, an animated series that ran for 2 seasons.
The New Three Stooges, I remember that one. You
I
do as
know.
a Saturday morning staple for me growing up.
Nice.
It's amazing to think about how they reached a whole new generation of fans through animation.
Exactly. It wasn't just about the slapstick anymore.
Right.
It was about the characters, their personalities, their unique dynamic.
Sure.
The Stooges were becoming cultural icons.
And let's not forget about Cook's Tour,
Yes.
the pilot episode they made for a live-action show in 1970.
Right.
Sadly, it never got picked up,
Yeah.
but it shows how dedicated they were to entertaining,
Mm-hmm.
even in their later years.
They were true entertainers,
Right.
always pushing boundaries and exploring new ways to make people laugh.
Absolutely.
But now it's time to delve into a different side of their story,
Okay,
their individual journeys beyond the Stooges.
let's do it.
Let's start with Mo, the mastermind behind the trio.
Welcome back to our deep dive into the world of the Three Stooges. We've traced their incredible journey from vaudeville to Hollywood,
It's been quite a ride.
from those iconic short films to feature films, and even television.
Mm-hmm.
But there's one more layer to uncover,
Oh, yeah.
their individual careers outside of the trio.
Right. It's fascinating to explore what each Stooge brought to the table individually.
Yeah.
While we know them for their incredible chemistry as a group,
Right.
each one had their own unique talents and experiences that shaped their comedic journeys.
Let's start with Mo,
Okay.
the self-proclaimed boss of the Stooges.
Right.
I always got the sense that he was the driving force,
Yeah.
the organizer, the one who kept things moving.
Yeah.
Did he ever venture out on his own,
Mhm.
or was he always a stooge at heart?
Mo's story is full of surprises.
Oh, wait, like what?
Did you know he had a brief stint as a child actor in the early 1900s?
No way.
He appeared in a couple of silent films,
Really?
We Must Do Our Best and Fish Hooky, before he even hit his teens.
A silent film star. That's amazing.
I know, right?
I can already picture him with that signature bowl cut, even as a kid.
So did he continue acting after those early roles?
Yeah, did he?
He did.
Okay.
But his focus shifted more towards vaudeville and stager performances.
Interesting.
He even met Larry Fine while they were both working in vaudeville,
Oh, wow.
which eventually led to the formation of the Stooges.
So those early experiences were really shaping him, preparing him for the comedic mayhem that was to come.
It was all meant to be.
So Mo was really the one who brought them all together.
Yeah, pretty much.
It makes sense he always had that leadership quality, both on screen and off.
Yeah, definitely.
But did he ever try to break out on his own? Maybe pursue a more serious acting career?
He did dabble in a few projects here and there.
Oh,
He appeared in a couple of films in the late 1950s and early 1960s.
right.
Space Master X7 and Senior Prom.
Those titles don't exactly scream slapstick comedy.
No, they don't.
It seems like he was drawn back to his comedic roots.
Exactly. He did have a memorable role in the 1966 comedy, Don't Worry, We'll Think of a Title,
I've never heard of that.
alongside the legendary Rose Marie.
Oh, wow.
But even in his later years, he was involved in various Stooges-related projects.
It seems like he just couldn't stay away from the world he helped create.
A true Stooge through and through.
Okay, what about Larry?
Right.
Did he ever step out from behind the piano and into the spotlight on his own?
Larry's solo career was even more limited than Mo's.
Okay.
He mainly focused on guest appearances on TV shows and variety specials.
Right. I can picture him now, cracking jokes on a talk show or popping up in a sitcom.
He was a natural comedian,
Yeah.
always ready with a quick wit and a goofy grin.
Did he ever do anything drastically different from the Stooges brand of humor?
Not really.
Okay.
Larry was a master of physical comedy
Right.
and those perfectly timed reactions.
Mm-hmm.
His style was so perfectly suited for the Stooges.
I feel like that's the case for a lot of these guys.
Yeah.
It's hard to imagine him doing anything else.
Yeah, I agree.
Fair enough. So that leaves us with Shemp and Curly.
Okay.
Did either of them have successful solo careers?
Now, this is where it gets really interesting.
Okay, I'm intrigued.
Shemp actually had a fairly extensive solo career before he joined the Stooges,
Oh, wow. Okay.
and even during his time away from the group.
No, seriously?
Mm-hmm.
I always thought of him as primarily a stooge.
He was, but he was also a talented comedian in his own right.
Okay.
He appeared in numerous films throughout the 1930s and 1940s,
Really?
often playing comedic supporting roles.
I had no idea.
He worked with some big names, too.
Like who?
He was in Another Thin Man with William Powell and Myrna Loy,
Wow.
and even had a role in the classic comedy The Bank Dick with W.C. Fields.
Shemp sharing the screen with W.C. Fields? That must have been comedic gold.
Oh, absolutely.
So why did he come back to the Stooges if he was already having success on his own?
When Curly had his stroke in 1946, the Stooges were in a tough spot.
I can imagine.
They needed someone to fill the void.
Yeah.
And Shemp, without hesitation, stepped up to help his brother Moe and Larry.
That's amazing.
It's testament to their bond, their loyalty to each other,
Uh-huh.
and to the legacy they had built together.
That's a true testament to family and the power of those comedic bonds.
It really is.
Okay, last but not least, what about Curly? Did he ever venture out on his own?
Curly's solo work was pretty limited.
Okay.
He did appear in a few films without the other Stooges,
Right.
mainly during their early days at MGM.
Uh-huh.
He had a small role in Broadway to Hollywood
Okay.
and appeared in a couple of short films.
Gotcha.
But his comedic style was so unique and so intertwined with the Stooges
Yeah.
that it's hard to imagine him doing anything else.
He was the heart and soul of that trio, wasn't he?
He was.
His physical comedy, that infectious laugh,
Yeah,
his childlike innocence. He was truly one of a kind.
absolutely. Curly's impact on comedy is undeniable.
Mm-hmm.
He helped define the Stooges style,
Right.
and his legacy continues to inspire comedians today.
Well, this has been an incredible journey through the filmography of the Three Stooges.
It has.
We've gone from their humble beginnings in vaudeville to their Hollywood stardom
Right.
and their lasting impact on comedy.
Absolutely.
We've explored their various lineups, their forays into feature films and television, and even their individual journeys outside of the trio.
It's amazing to see how their careers evolved over the decades.
Yeah.
They adapted to the changing landscape of entertainment
Uh-huh.
while always staying true to their comedic roots.
It's a great story.
Their story is a testament to the power of laughter, the importance of brotherhood, and the enduring legacy of true comedic genius.
So as we wrap up this deep dive,
Okay.
I have one final question for you.
Right. Sure.
Given all the different Stooges lineups and all the incredible work they did,
Right.
which era do you think is the most underrated or deserves a fresh look today, and why?
That's a tough one.
I know, right?
Each lineup brought something special to the table.
True.
But I think the Moe, Larry, and Shemp era is often overlooked.
Okay.
Shemp had a different kind of humor,
Yeah,
a bit more subtle and witty.
right.
I think their films deserve a reappraisal,
Yeah,
especially for those who might only be familiar with the Curly or Curly Joe eras.
that's a great point. I'm definitely going to revisit some of those Shemp films with a fresh perspective.
You should.
Well, folks, there you have it.
We did it.
A deep dive into the filmography of the Three Stooges.
That was fun.
We hope you've enjoyed this wild ride through their incredible careers, their personal journeys, and their lasting impact on the world of comedy.
It's been a pleasure.
Now go forth and spread the Stooge love.
Spread the love.
Thanks for listening.